Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, as I say, today we're going to talk operations because for me, it's one of the areas which is least discussed, and it's actually one of the most important areas in building and scaling a company. So my name's Maria Pienaar. I'm a founder of ScaleSpark. So we basically take the overload of operations away from you so that you can free up time to focus on growth and sales and product. Bit of my background is apart from being a founder of ScaleSpark, I am an investor. I'm a operating partner with Unicorn Growth Capital. And we invest in embedded fintech infrastructure companies in developing markets. So yeah, I also do a lot of workshops around fundraising and investor mindset on how to be coming across better as in your pitches. And then I've had numerous roles in Global 100, Global 500, Global 50, and startups in business development, CTIO, COO, CTO, product, business development, go-to-market in numerous international countries. I've launched about 20, 30 products and services myself. And I am an engineer by training. And so I'm also just going to ask everyone to just unmute yourself unless you have a question, since we are recording the session as well. But today we're just going to talk about about building the scale and backbone of your business, and avoid the chaos, which is you just can't scale chaos. And I know if there's a lot of overwhelming things happening and everything feel chaotic, it's just hard to focus on operations itself. So if you want to really grow to be smooth and repeatable, your operations need to be really tight, fast, and resilient. So yeah, it would be good to just hear from everyone. How do you define operations? What is it to you? So if we can either do in chat or a couple people just unmute themselves and tell us about what is your view on ops?
Hi, this is John.
Yes,
My,
John.
yeah, my view on ops, it's the integration of the value chain, starting with the customer and their preferences all the way back to the production of the service and all of the issues around that, like finance and human resources and, all the things that support those value chains.
Wonderful. I thank you so much for that. And I'm so glad you incorporated so many things in it. So yeah, operations touches every single part of your business and business entity. So it is very encompassing, and a lot of the time I see people only focus on people operations. Obviously that takes up a lot of time and workflows and finances, but they tend to neglect the rest of operations. So it's really all about collaborating effectively. Operations include your ability to put the frameworks on how you as a team operate. I also say if you have a very good operating framework, business operations, and I'll use the term interchangeably between business operations and operations. It also helps build team culture because a tight operational framework, as you go through it, help define your working agreements, and that help build habits, and habits is the thing that also helps strengthen culture. Obviously, you have systems aspect that you need to look at and take care of. And this is where it comes to product and other systems and business systems and how these systems integrate with one another. And then obviously operating solve your problems to ensure smooth workflows. Now, I like to use the metaphor of a lemonade stand on why operations is so important. And I'm just so, and again, I'm just going to ask everyone to please keep yourself muted until you ask a question. So if we look at a lemonade stand, and I think we all can relate that to the lemonade stand, its operations is really the recipe for making your stand work smoothly and successfully. It helps you make your lemonade efficiently. It makes sure your customers get the drinks they get quickly. It keeps track of your money and supplies, and it helps you stand grow and become even better. Now, if we look at all key parts of it, of business operation, just in our stand, it's so the first thing is planning, right? And planning is such a key thing. First of all, when you're looking at doing something, you should organize and plan, and that's unfortunately one of the most neglected things that's happening, because everyone is so fast in jumping into the tasks of doing, that this is sometimes neglected, and it's actually a lack of planning is one of the key reasons a lot of companies fail. So, so first of all, it is making the map of your lemonade stand. That includes decide how much lemonade you would like to make and when to open your stand, what's the location of your stand, and things to improve your lemonade even tastier. Sorry, I just had another thing pop up here for someone joining. It's about people. So you're going to need helpers, right, to make you build a successful business. So this involves finding the people to help you sell the lemonade, helping people to go and source the supplies. Also teaching and communicating with the people how to make and serve drinks in a very consistent manner and making sure everyone is happy and doing a good job. It's about processes. So this is really your lemonade making recipe. So it includes steps for mixing the perfect lemonade. It includes how to take orders and serve customers. If customers are not happy, maybe giving them refunds. It's also about making sure that your stand is tidy and clean, right? It's about the technology and tools that you use. For a lemonade stand, it might include things like a cash box to keep your money safe, a big cooler to keep the lemonade cold, ability to track sales, point of sale, and things like that. Supplies. It's about your supplies, what you need to get. It obviously involves all the ingredients, the lemons, the sugars, the cups, making sure that your ingredients never run out. In technology case around software service models. So a lot of that is going to be around customer support that can help bring in things and requirements and products. It's about finding the best prices from the suppliers in the technology environment. Those prices would include your management of your cloud environments, management of your software tools that you use. I know that companies on average can overspend about 30 to 50% just on the business software tools, and cloud environment I've seen up to 75% of overspend of what's needed. So it's operations help you to keep the eye on that. It's about your money management, so keeping track of how much money you're making, what your profit margins are, paying for suppliers and helpers and contractors. And as I say, saving you money, especially in operational overhead. It's about customer service, about making your customers happy. This could be friendly and fast service. I mean, what I've seen a lot with companies, which is something which will chase customers away, is that no one comes back for at least 3 to 5 days. If you cannot keep operating processes to get back to customers on questions when they email in and your support is only via email within 24 hours, you have a high likelihood of losing that customer. So ability to fix problems quickly and always about improvement. How do you make things better? How do you improve things? How do you get faster ways to be more cost effective and learning from mistakes and getting better every day? And that includes a lot of, communication within the company itself. So, and literally, this is what we find with a lot of early growth companies. I cannot tell you as investor how frustrated I get when I see portfolio company updates where revenues are flat or growing slowly because they used to do manually and duct taping everything together and did not early enough start taking care of operations. And especially early growth companies, a lot of the areas is around governance of finances and reporting, getting very fluffy cash flows where you have no idea what the real spend is of that company. And that makes you unattractive to keep on investing in you. So operations can help you automate this and smooth out and keep everyone abreast, especially around financial governance, right? So most companies literally can't scale fast enough because of inefficient operations. So 55% of companies fail due to inefficient ops. And this is we know all the other statistics, but this is one of the hidden statistics, right? So and as I say, lack of planning is if you're looking at this reasons why companies fail, one of the first ones is lack of planning. The second one is teams are unable to communicate across cultural barriers, and barriers could literally be, cultural barriers within organization groups. Like I know the technology engineers has a different culture to marketing people. There's always language culture, so communication is key, and operations can really help you build that communications. And then obviously the third key reason, and this is from Gallup research, is around teams are unaligned around strategy. And again, operations can help you mitigate these things. So there's an acronym I like, which is STOP, think, organize, and plan, especially when things start getting messy. So the stakes is high if your operations is inefficient. And yes, it can be extremely overwhelming. I mean, again, research shows that founders and executive teams can spend anywhere from about 60 to 110 hours a month around operational administrative tasks. And if that is 60 to 100 hours just focusing on administrative and operational tasks, it's 60 to 100 hours a month that is have you missing key revenue generating opportunities and for your team as well. So fast growth definitely will expose cracks, which can become major problems, and especially if you keep in just duct taping things together, right? People become reactive. I've even seen a lot of conflict start happening in teams, which make it even more challenging. Everyone is just under more stress because they just spent more hours now trying to fix these problems. And we do know that great operations help to drive great sustainable growth. So it's really about how do you move your mind shift from hustling. Founders are great firefighters, but you don't want to keep on fighting fires all the time. A lot of the time, there's a mentality of growth at all costs. And again, statistics shows 80% of companies basically fail because they grow too fast. I know we've got some great examples in the industry. WeWork comes to mind, but they had so much funding that they could bear that storm, but a lot of companies just can't bear that storm when there's too fast growth. And fast growth is a wonderful problem to have, but it does need to be prioritized and staged, right? So, and it does lead to burnout. So the mindset shift is really, can my team or systems do this without me? And if the answer is really no, you are the bottleneck or anyone else is the bottleneck. And it's good to start identifying those bottlenecks right up front. So your goal is to make yourself operationally irrelevant as founding teams, and be able to get that handed over to people who can help do that. But again, in effective and productive ways. So, and this is also where business continuity management comes in. I've got an example, and especially if you're an early growth stage company, you are at high risk of business continuity management if you as a team don't communicate and divide tasks appropriately. We had an example of one of our portfolio companies, actually 3 very strong founders that we invested in. And then life sometimes happen, not that we want to wish it on anyone. And one of the founding members actually died in a car accident. And so that caused huge ruction and disruption, and it could have killed the company, but thank heavens they had a very tight focus on operations and how they divide task and documentation. And the team was able to actually pivot the company to 4 times growth because they were able to build on the foundation, which was put in place. And again, for those joining a bit late, I'm just going to again ask you to please just mute yourself. Let me see if I can mute a person here. So if there are those of you who are not muted, please mute yourself as you come into the meeting room. Let me just... right, there is some back chatter I hear. Let's talk about operations as a revenue multiplier. And I like to see it as a pyramid where, and a lot of the time also, I see companies view operations as a cost center. If you really think about it, operations is not a cost center, it's a growth engine. Every minute saved, every confusion avoided, every repeated process you put in place, it all compounds, right? Great operations just make your team faster, your customers happier, your margins wider. So really one of the takeaways I would like everyone to have today is stop thinking of operations as admin and a cost center. It is really your growth engine. It is the engine that makes the car go forward, right? Start seeing it as a leverage, right? So, and if you look at the bottom of the pyramid, bad and poor operations drain every team. It drives to faster burnout. It drives to conflict. There's a hidden tax around it, which is really not easy to really measure the impact in. And in some cases, it can cause very valuable resources to leave the country. Not the country, but the company, right? It can provide multiples in compound returns because you can scale faster, right? And it accelerates every single business function. So ops also shouldn't just only be the focus point of one single person, like a COO, right? And there's times when you bring in operations people in, every single business entity need to have the team focus on operations as a business function and how they can contribute to making that business function run as smoothly as possible, right? In the technical side, obviously, it's around software and service delivery. It's around DevOps, cost savings around that. It's about co-designing with a team. In finances, it's about financial management and communicating and doing budget planning upfront effectively with the different business groups. And if you really look at it, it's the areas of intersection of people, your technology and tools resources and processes, and all that and how you spend cost and time is also driven by budget. So budget planning on how you do that, which can also lead to more effective operations, is quite key to start driving some aspects of that. I know one of the organizations I was a CIO for, billion dollar plus company, which was not performing well. We had budget cuts of 30% year on year for 3 years in a row. And nothing helped in enable the team to really relook at operational infrastructure and make things so operationally efficient that the company was awarded, in the industry and in the market, the best company for customer acquisitions, the best company with the fastest growth, getting to operational efficiency faster than what the board was initially expecting to see. So yes, financial planning can also play a good role in how you define your budgets. That can again help stimulate thinking around operations. But I would not recommend getting to the point where you want to only use budget cuts for driving efficiencies. So here's a good scales up flywheel that you can think of, and I know there are other frameworks as well to use. So the first thing is to delegate and distribute ownership, right? So see how you can get things off the plate. So especially where some people are bottlenecks. And again, for early growth founders, you need to delegate the workload between one another. Eliminate the repetitive work through early automation, right? So once you've got the delegation done and you see how that process should be working and it's repeatable, automate it. A lot of the time I start seeing automation too early as well, which again brings in other challenges in the long run. Now, once you've automated, you optimize it, you make it faster, tighter, better. So it's a repetitive task. It's not a once-off event, a once-off occurrence that you're doing this, and your ops will really compound like crazy. And then obviously documentation, capture what works, but make the documentation again easy, that it doesn't become a burden on everyone's workloads. And there are so many tools in order to help do that, even from video recordings now, talking about the processes. There's tools like Guidey that can help you turn that into standard operating procedures. And when you start looking at it, really it's look at where are the biggest friction points in different business areas and start prioritizing from there. And a lot of the time, the initial ones would be around financial and people operations, HR for on-offboarding, on systems, product and software delivery and support. So just prioritize, especially if you're a small team, and start building the foundation from there. Just going to take a pause and see if there's any questions. Yep, definitely, Roberto. Operations does include metrics. So yeah, you can't improve unless you measure things, right? Yes, Roberto, in the flywheel, would you say that we need feedback loops and metrics for each of these sections, and how would that work for early growth? This is just a flywheel, because what I like about flywheels, it basically start gaining up momentum and start moving by itself. And to get the flywheel going is pretty good. I mean, Amazon is a great example of a company that uses flywheels, and we know how operationally efficient that they are, which is what's driving their scale. So definitely have feedback loops within the flywheel and metrics to see if this needs to be improved or not, right? And again, not everything. So sometimes you already design a very efficient process, and if it's not broken at that point in time and don't need improvement, rather prioritize other areas of growth. But for early growth, as I say, break it down to the initial friction points and always look at where's the workflow friction points. and start planning from there and see how you can start generating a flywork just for that initial process and build it from there. Hopefully that answers the question. Right. When you are designing your scalable processes, as I mentioned in the previous slide, is don't overthink it, right? I have literally seen over-engineering of processes. And I can give one example again to one of the mobile carriers I was at. So where I came into the role of CIO, the company had, in the way that the processes were set up in cross-functional teams, and this is also where legacy processes sometimes can start playing a role, and new team members coming in and, you know, they haven't had insights to any of the frameworks and things, where a business analyst used to run around to the different business units, so they didn't have a co-design, design thinking aspect around when they were launching new products and services. And anyway, not including financials, no financial teams, not including customer support teams, not including sales teams in the process. It became a very long and arduous process to even get software out or new product requirements out. And so they had an aspect where a system was over-designed because one single person gathered all the requirements and worked with the engineering team and became the translator. And it was literally, they had 10 screens in the CRM to sign up a contract. They had over a 70% drop-off rate of people signing up for contracts. And one of the things I said, okay, let's go and find out as the technology team where this challenge is, right? And invited some of the other stakeholders to participate in it. So we literally went through customer service training and shadowed a customer service person for 4 hours. So we went into the stores and did the same thing. And including myself as the CIO, I showed that I will do it myself. And I helped provide just a cultural fear, because it was a fear-based culture in the company that, yeah, if we get this wrong, so we're just going to improve it, deploy it. If we get it wrong, the only head that will roll is mine. And so anyway, what happened is we went out and we consolidated input. And it was amazing how the answer is always within, because if a system is clunky and a process is not working, whoever needs to work with that process always come up with a manual bypass. So we were very quickly able to bring back feedback. We did the changes, brought the CRM screens from 10 to 3, and within 1 week, customer acquisitions and contract sales jumped by 30 to 40%. So that's why I say start simple, always start with basic templates. So Nia, yeah, there are some simple templates that one could use. Will come back, and I don't know. I see my co-founder Katie is also online, so I don't know, Katie, if you might want to just drop some answers to that in the chat as well, right?
Sure.
And that's from a capture knowledge. You know, tribal wisdom is one of your most valuable things that you can have. But again, make it easy. Use collaboration tools. I know a lot of the time you can capture that tribal wisdom in Slack. You know, there's tools like Notion, Loom, ClickUp. We've got ChatGPT and other chat tools these days that can also help us validate and vet things, but customize these things to how you work and make it easy that it doesn't add overload to team members, right? And build templates, use frameworks and customize it to what works for you and your team and environment, right? Workflows, as I say, can become very, very, very clunky. And always ask, where's the friction in this? Can we improve the friction? What are the bottlenecks? Now, don't go over design mode, as I said, but do sufficient that makes the process work. And obviously, as then you start scaling, it might add additional bottlenecks. So make sure those metrics and feedback loops are in place to see where you need to build slight advancement, especially, for later growth stage companies. This is always where red tape is so much that you need to review it. But the more you review it in a flywheel session, the better your processes also grow as the company grows. So look at where's the bottlenecks, where are people waiting on each other, what steps can be eliminated, push forward towards asynchronous batch tasks. What are the handoff rules is where things get stuck. Reduce approval loops. Now, sometimes approval loops can become too cumbersome, and again, use tools. Yes, and thank you, Roberta, for that comment that you can even treat your staff like users and find pain points. But again, coming to approval loops, again, cyber is one of the things, and especially in finances, that you do want to bring checks and balances in, especially for vendor payments, because there are so many known scams where someone pretended to be a CFO or CEO and instructing someone in finance to pay a supposed vendor with $1 million. And because the person said, oh, it's a CEO, they just did that, and there were no other checks and balances. So think about areas where cyber risk may creep in as well in your processes. Don't leave that out, because we know cyber risk is becoming more clunky. Sorry, can that person just mute themselves? Oh, okay, so I've just muted that person. Right. And automate with intent, right? So validate the processes, and this can be done before you even start automating. Depending on the processes and where it fits, see what are the best tools to come in. One of the things that I have also seen in companies quite a lot is because the system and tools may take too long to improve things, or take too long with now everyone can buy a new tool with a credit card. I've seen teams just suddenly bring in tools, which is a nightmare for if you're a person that need to take care of cybersecurity, that they just bring in tools and then start using it. It's not integrated, and it can start adding additional cost and cost creep and risk. So when you look at choosing tools, or just keep the communication channels open, that way people have problems. And again, your tools like your Slacks and your chat tools are great, where team members and have a channel to say, where can we bring improvements? People love to talk about how things can improve as well. So make sure that you bring that in play. And then link systems that need to talk to one another. So integration, you don't need to build everything yourself. Why spend budget on areas where it's you're not adding value, but then your integration layers from your tech teams is becoming quite important there. And always ask, is this worth automating now, or do we still need to learn how it should work first? So processes can be prioritized as well. If it's not a burning need that's preventing customer onboarding, and there's other higher priority processes, literally do that, right? And again, this is a support community. So if you do know around other tools and templates, please feel free to add that in chat. Now, team design and delegation. This is really a leadership skill. As I say, what you're not good at, definitely see if you can delegate that. Right. If you are doing everything, you are the problem. And a lot of the time that also comes with insecurities and desires to micromanage, because there's a lack of trust. And trust is one of the most biggest contributors to failure of companies as well, because where teams don't trust one another, that just drives to conflict and more challenges with team dynamics as well. So give ownership over, not just task management. And that's where micromanage may come in. So where there's a problem of things not moving forward, make sure that there's communication and open communication channels to help mitigate that risk. Define roles clearly, right? Who owns what, where they need help. And also remember to ask what success looks like. And questions around, because some functions think they're not that important to customer success, but everyone in operations processes contribute to customer success. And that again is not seeing it as an admin or a cost center, but a contributor to revenue, and have that conversation with teams. And early growth teams, you can build these foundations right in from the start. And that's where your work management, your flow processes, and all those things start building these good habits, and also for communication. And a lot of the time I see people start hitting brick walls, and then they just try to hire people and throw more hands out. And in some cases, it just adds more workload to the team that can start addressing to it. So build your team for the business you want to be in 12 months ahead. Right. So Rao, you have a question. Do you build global competency centers or work with them? Now, well, I mean, global competency centers, when you get to a certain size of company, I would say just always have a view of building the frameworks for competency and standard operating procedures that can help with your operations. I don't know about global competency center, which I say I normally see it with extremely large enterprises, but I think also when you look at that, it is something that is so aside from the rest of the company that it causes problems. Competency centers can be good for customers, so that will basically help you from showing competency to customer, but internally you just focus on team helping to solve the problems and priorities and help build together to improved and a smooth operations engine. And that comes back to how you as a team work. And as I say, once you have a good foundation and early on, you will start seeing that flywheel happening, which everyone becomes a cookie cutter, everyone builds that habit, everyone knows how to communicate, everyone has the frameworks of agreement, and that will build excellence in everything that you do. But as I say, people love to always improve to the point of perfection. You don't need perfectionists. You just need good enough that works to help you scale and service your customers. Yep, that's correct. Okay. No, sorry, just going to go back to team. So focus on outcomes, right, and goals. And that's important to always clearly review the goals, and that comes back to how you come back to bringing that feedback loops in place. And this also touches a little bit on performance management. You know, I don't think, and there's enough research to say that the normal performance management things where you do a performance management once a year is just not effective, and it can cause other things. And it's also how you incentivize people for rewards. A better system is to constantly have the feedback and conversations throughout, and just award people with little gifts and things goes a lot way longer. And further, we had a conversation with another company that focuses in outsourced HR management, and talking about their teams. And they were giving like, was called, they called it the bucks. They had the internal company bucks. And anyone could nominate someone for bucks, which could include things like a massage or spa treatment or a gift card of something or Starbucks card. Anyone could basically nominate someone for bucks, and then that bucks get paid. And that was also building a culture of we support one another and award another for the good things that we're doing. And that keeps the open innovation aspects going as well, because ops is a constant innovation process as well, right? Right. So when we're talking about the systems that you're looking at, it's building systems that's flex. Don't overbuild rigid systems too early, right? Keep things modular. Use tools that integrate well and don't lock you in. And you can use some simple tools initially as you start scaling, but always plan for whatever tools you bring in need to last you at least the next 5 or 10 years. Really use the 80-20 rule. So standardize where it matters, but keep flexibility for edge cases. You don't want to customize things so much. And also when customers come on board, don't start customizing things for them, because then you can't upgrade your own systems and keep on growing from that, right? So think of ops like a Lego, right? That you built the foundation for it, or a house. It's not like concrete. And, and where you can take friction out of the processes as well. So, and avoid tools that limit scale. So, and as I say, and this is one thing where we can also help a lot in how to drive that. Just some pitfalls to avoid. Again, tools doesn't equal systems. Systems are the systems that help you grow and scale. Tools are part of systems, and systems is not leadership. So when you look at that, don't build giant systems no one uses. So many times I see a tool coming in, especially the ones who just like to throw more tools on a credit card because it meets a burning need now. A lot of the time, 90% of the capabilities of that system is never used. Then you have a very over expenditure and ineffective tool to use, right? Assuming knowledge. This is one of the biggest mistakes. Don't assume people know how things work. And that's why documentation and, capturing ideas and thoughts and sharing it and having collaboration. We've got so much better collaboration tools than we used to have in the past. Capture things, make capturing information and systems just a habit, and as I say, use your Slack channels, see how you integrate building that knowledge base. And especially now with AI integration around standard operating procedures, building that knowledge base out and how to apply AI on top of that is how you can then leverage AI to drive productivities and efficiencies as well. Tools won't fix poor communication. That's why you need to focus on process first and work agreements, and then apply the tool within how you bring compliance in that, and especially around on offboarding. It can help you eliminate high risk and penalties, especially around cyber. One of the things I've seen with offboarding in different companies is where credential management wasn't done. There's no clear communication between HR when someone leaves or a contractor leaves with whichever business is working with that contractor, and they don't get offboarded on systems. And once you especially have dormant root admin accounts, you are leaving yourself at a huge risk for ransomware and things like that. You've got to own all your system accounts and manage it from you, not ever allow external vendors, especially early stage companies. When we use people who build websites, you've got to own the credentials of those systems, right? Keeping secrets, it's the founder's death. So focus on, open communications and transparency. So here's a 30-day playbook. Go and audit your 5 top bottlenecks. What's slow, painful, or repeated too much? Wherever there's repeatability and it's manually done is where you can really automate. Document 3 workflows. Design tool like Figma and others is a great way. Miro is a great way of documenting workflows and getting everyone to participate in that. Choose one. Prioritize at least one process to automate, and set up a 30-day goal for yourself, right, to help you move into that place of less chaos. But start small and see what prioritization you can bring in. I'll also open once I stop presenting for more questions. So this is more about ScaleSpark. As I say, if you feel overwhelmed what's breaking in your ops, what's confusing, what tools are you stuck off, we are happy to having a conversation with you to see how we can help you and potentially help take that load off you so that you can start focusing more on the key aspects that's driving your growth.